We are here joined by Dr. Rajneesh Kapoor, who is the chairman of interventional cardiology at Medanta, the Medicity. Dr. Kapoor, welcome at NDTV Profit. Always pleasure to have you. The interesting story, just wanted to understand, is this possible, to get your cholesterol cured permanently? Because, every time if I say this to anybody, everyone is like, is it possible? ये fashion lag raha hai. So is this truly a breakthrough or still too early to call it off as a game changer?
Yes, Varsha, so this is very intriguing. We have been doing a cholesterol reduction by means of pills daily, which are taken daily at the moment, which are called statins. But then came some injections, which has to be taken at frequent intervals, which again decrease the cholesterol significantly. But now this therapy, which is called a gene editing therapy. Now, gene editing therapy looked a distant dream a few years back, but now it is very, very tangible and in front of us. And the trials are going on already. Now, this gene editing therapy actually suppresses a specific gene in the liver, PCSK9, which do not actually form cholesterol, but this gene is associated in clearing of LDL receptors. I mean, in a clearing of LDL receptors, so that LDL cholesterol is not cleared from the body. So if we suppress this gene, the LDL cholesterol will be permanently, getting an exit from the body, and their levels get decreased. So this is something which is very, very big and exciting. If this happens and there are no safety issues, and it is proven that long-term durability is maintained, long-term efficacy is maintained, it is a very, very big breakthrough. I mean, it's intriguing to imagine that one infusion and you are done with your cholesterol for number of years. Maybe it requires a repeat infusion in 5 years, 10 years, only trials will tell. But yes, what needs to be seen is it has to be safe. Now, any gene editing therapy may have issues with, altering our genetic framework in such a manner that it may lead to some awkward effects or some other diseases in the body. That needs to be seen. But it looks very promising at the moment. The initial results are very, very encouraging. The FDA in US has given a green signal for fast tracking of this study in US. So that itself is encouraging, and it looks very promising. And I think practically we are not away from a time once one infusion and you are done with your bad cholesterols.
Right. Dr. Kapoor, you just mentioned about the change, the change in gene, which is required, to have this injection work on. How big is a concern, editing your DNA permanently inside the body?
See, yes, so it has its safety issues. Now, this phenomena or this treatment modality is being tried for a number of years. It has been successful in certain situations like sickle cell anemia or thalassemias, but now it is being expanded further. Now, if you see, it has to be very precise. There are vectors who will take that gene into our body, and actually they will splice a previous gene. The previous gene is spliced out and this new gene is spliced in. So there are vectors which are doing that. So now it has to be done absolutely precisely, not altering the other genetic framework of the cell, other DNA basis of that cell. So if that happens in a meticulous, judicious manner, precise manner, I think the job is done. Now, only thing which comes to our mind is that, once we are doing that and something goes wrong, then the genetic makeup or the DNA basis, other DNA basis may get altered and may result in some other disease or some tumors or something. That shouldn't happen. But I think science has progressed up till this advanced stage now, that they are making this process foolproof and very, very precise.
And Dr. Kapoor, what kind of long-term risk could emerge that we cannot see yet?
That's what I'm saying. So long-term risk is that, if there is alteration of some genetic framework in awkward or a weird manner or a negative manner, then that may lead to some other issues. Like, it may actually impact some other function, some other organs function, or some cellular proliferation in the body. It That may happen, but up till now it looks very good. So that needs to be seen. That is where the challenge is, that it has to be a long term studies on a huge number of subjects. The initial studies are very promising and it's very safe, it's looking very efficacious, no negative results have been seen up till now. So it is going through that study and looking like encouraging promising results. So I'm hopeful and that it should happen very precisely without any negative issues related to this. So let's not be pessimistic. Let's be optimistic. This part of science is working now, which is called gene editing. And if this happens in a positive and foolproof manner, then we are not away of doing gene splicing or gene editing for some other diseases which are very, very harmful. Now, I mean, even this, look at this. So, one infusion, and no need to take any pill or any recurrent injections to decrease your cholesterol. And I can tell you as a cardiologist that if we control our cholesterols in a durable long term manner, we change the whole face of coronary artery disease or heart blockages in the long term for a huge masses, for a huge population. That may have a very big impact.
And doctor, a 62% LDL reduction, how meaningful is that clinically for heart risk reduction?
No, this is very significant. 62% means if somebody's LDL cholesterol is 200, so it gets it down to 90. So this is approximately 60% reduction, which is very, very good. So now, having said that, having taken an infusion, that does not take away our recommendation or guideline to all the patients of heart blockages or high cholesterol, that they should continue to follow the good lifestyle modification changes. The diet control and the exercise levels should be up. So we should not try to stop these methods or these lifestyle modification changes on daily basis, even if we take these infusions to control our cholesterols. So these infusions will give us a low cholesterol levels, which has to be maintained in life with all the changes thereon on daily basis.
And Dr. Kapoor, would you consider this for a young patient versus 60 plus patient differently?
See, at the moment, I think the indications, if at all, once it becomes totally a practical thing, the indications will be a familial hyperlipidemia patients where cholesterol levels are very, very big, enormous, and then the second are the very obese patients with very high triglycerides. This is also not uncommon in the practice, it's very, very common. And then the patients where cholesterols are high, not that big cholesterols, but moderate high cholesterols also with a very high cardiovascular risk factors. So these three subsets are initially, I think, will be an indication for this gene therapy or gene editing therapy with a single infusion. And then I think we require more trials to come into place with more and more subjects enrolled and see it over 2 to 3 years to see any untoward effects happening. And once it is established, I think it's a big, big breakthrough.
And doctor, we all know that approval is needed. It will take maybe years to come this drug into market. But since this is a one-time cure, I would say, analysts were expecting the cost of this injection to be around $50,000. What's your view on that?
See, this is again a tangible situation. We expect that once a lot of money goes down the drain in research, then the initial cost of the drug is going to be very, very high. And this is something out of the box, very innovative, very new product, very new therapy. So if any company puts in lots of money in research, in building up any product, the initial costs are going to be high. So, but yes, what happens then? there is more push from the market. It also depends on the number of customers using it. Based on that levels, I mean, slowly the cost will come down. But yes, initial costs are expected to be high.
Understood. And doctor, lastly, would you as a doctor prefer a controllable drug over irreversible gene edit?
See, we have been trying this controllable drug for a number of years. But practically, I tell you, now statins are a very good drug to decrease cholesterol. Now, if there is a controllable drug which has to be taken daily, there are still problems faced with that. One, the compliance of patients. So in India, typically the compliance of patients are not very great. So they take the drug for 2 months and they think their cholesterols have come down and they stop taking. This is not an unusual phenomena which we face in our practice. Now, second, controllable drug has certain limitations. It is only targeting a certain pathway. Now, it is also seen that with statins, which is a controllable drug, a pill given daily, still, despite that, our cholesterols remain high. Still, we are having a lot of heart attacks. So, this controllable drug is not a total panacea for cholesterol. It is not affecting in all pathways. So, that is where a search has always been to look at a more composite, more effective pathway to decrease cholesterol so that we can have a bigger results, we can have a total escape from coronary artery disease or blockages in future and decrease cholesterols on a long term basis.
Right. And doctor, lastly, now this is from a perspective of a young patient. So if you have a young patient with genetic high cholesterol, would you recommend this therapy once approved?
Yes, surely. Absolutely. See, we are already using now injections quite frequently in patients with very high cholesterols or familial high cholesterol patients, young patients, with this subset. But these injections are to be taken on frequent, recurrent intervals. We are already, excited about that, but that is still taken number of injections a year, and that is again the cost is not small. If we calculate in total, the cost is high. Now, what you mentioned that initial cost would be high, but then mind it, it also takes away of consuming daily pills. And if we calculate the cost over 5-10 years, maybe it is reaching almost close to that. So it is only one infusion. Definitely, once it is approved logically and no side effects, we like to use in our patients who are indicated for this stuff.
Understood. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kapoor, for joining in and having a conversation with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.